A very, very beautiful good evening to each and every one of you. Thank you, Orbis School, for having us here. Well, to begin with, I would like to share a short story. When I was a little girl, my grandmother, wise woman that she was, gave me a thread and asked me to tie a knot. I found it a little weird, but I did what she instructed me to do. And then she told me, untie it. I just couldn't. I tried my best, but I couldn't untie it. Frustrated, I looked up to her and she smiled and said, life is like this thread. Life is going to get knotted, but you can't always untie it. This thread with this knot is going to get stronger, and yet you can make something beautiful out of this thread. Well, I didn't much understand what my grandmother was trying to say, but it did stay with me. As I grew older and started navigating leadership roles, I understood the thread and the knot. The knots were the obstacles. We were going to have obstacles, difficulties, challenges in our life. They were going to be part of our life, but they were meant to be there not to break us, but to make us grow stronger. Well, let's fast forward to my role as an executive director at Sancheti Hospital. It was founded by my father, Dr. K. H. Sancheti. I was handling the administration and the non-medico, so I chose to head administration. My brother, Dr. Parag Sancheti, he was a medical director then. Family-run organization. You can imagine the complexities. And anyway, hospital industry is equally complex. Before I took up my role as an executive director, I was made to work in every department at the ground level. That kind of gave me a pulse to the hospital. I found the pulse to the hospital. 80% of our women were women. 80% of my staff was women. And at the top of the pyramid, we had these skilled, talented surgeons. At the bottom of the pyramid, there were men, there were technicians, there were security guards, there were housekeeping staff. But in between this were these 80% women who were the backbone of our hospital. Well, being an orthopedic hospital, we had a wide range of patients, right from poor farmers to international visitors. They all came to Sancheti Hospital being super specialty. They had very high expectations from us, right from the best infrastructure, best healthcare delivery, patient experience had to be the best, number of expectations. But there was a catch to it. They wanted all this at a very affordable cost. And that was difficult for our sustainability. Well, now to match these expectations, it wasn't just a role of doctors, it was a role of each and every one of us in the organization. No amount of Kaizen, no amount of Six Sigma, ISO certifications were going to be enough for us. We needed to rehumanize the entire process because we were dealing with human lives and human pain. So we had to work right from admission to discharge, and that was going to be challenging. As I said, my biggest resource were the women. Little that I knew, these are the women who are going to be my biggest strength to achieve my goals. What was interesting is these women who were the support staff, they were just not 80%, but my leadership team, they were also 80% women. For example, my ICU head, my nursing head, my HR head, my maintenance head, my quality head, my operations head, they all were women. Of course, they were facing a lot of challenges. They were putting their best foot forward, but we were not efficient as teams. There was something missing. We needed to kind of find a common ground where each and every one of us felt relevant and thrived. We started something like fearless feedback, where any woman from any department could come and talk to us about her interactions and her problems between the doctors and patients. Well, initially, they were a little scared to come and open up with us, but they realized that we were not there to judge us. And it worked very well. At the hospital, we had women from all walks of life. Some of them came from very poor economic background. Some of them were educated. Some of them came from middle class. They spoke different languages. Their skills were different. Their reactions to the same problem was so different. But we had to do something. Once again, I realized that we had to make them relevant, and for that, we needed a common ground. And there, this eureka moment, I found that common ground: management of cures. Yes, the hospitals get very chaotic. Since our fearless feedback had worked very well, I digged further. You know, in India, way to anyone's heart is through their stomach. And if you wish to connect them instantly, talk about their family. That is the best way to bond with any Indian. So I started meeting up these women from all the departments who were working at the ground level for breakfast. I started talking to them. But what I realized, just like they had the best solutions, they understood their work very well, but they had lovely, inspiring backstories. These were the women, some of them were widows, some of them were single mom because the husband had left them, they were divorcees. They were working very hard, waking up in the morning, cleaning, cooking for their children, and almost traveling for an hour to reach on time. That touched my heart. Now, for some reason, we had to build this organization as a learning organization where each one of us could, you know, speak to each other freely. Later on, we started incorporating their suggestions. We started having very systematic meetings, training sessions. We told them that how each one of them had equal stakes. They had equal stakes, and if we had to improve the patient experience, every department mattered. Because in a hospital, every department is interconnected, and they understood very well. So there was a progress that I was seeing slowly and steadily, but something was missing. Hospitals are not typically glamorous environment. You know, it's far from that. There's so much of negativity because they're patients with a lot of pain. And I needed to change that. I needed to bring some positivity. I needed to bring that element of joy and happiness. I got thinking, what should I do? Unlike men, women find pleasure in very, very small things. So we started celebrating our festivals. Just the idea of coming to work and dressing up brought so much joy to them. After that, we started celebrating their birthdays. Then we started celebrating the results of their children when they passed board exam. And now our organization was becoming a learning organization, not because we had planned like that or structured like that. It evolved, where everyone wanted to help each other and everyone wanted to grow with each other. That was the beginning of our sisterhood. I would say that there were moments where nobody wanted to shine out, but they wanted to show up. There were young mothers who had a problem with their child, or uh, there were mothers, or there were women who had an ailing parent back at home. We were showing up for them. These women were stepping in if they couldn't come to work, not because it was convenient, but it was necessary. All that helped for our organization to become better and efficient. Now our balance sheet was looking better. Our PSI, that is patient satisfaction index, we accepted only at 90%. That was the basic minimum everybody had to have, and that was becoming better. Finally, we had turned from family-run organization to professionally run organization. Our hospital was finally running like a well-oiled machine. Now, let me pause at this point and connect it to the metaphor of oyster and pearl. Well, I started looking at life with a different lens, and I found out that leadership grows with challenges, just like pearls. When an oyster, there is a grain of sand enters the oyster, it doesn't reject it. It covers by layers and layers and layers till something beautiful comes out of it. That's a pearl. We women are like that. You know, when we are handed over the grains of sand, like societal pressures, personal pressures, family pressures, self doubt, barriers that challenge us, we can get bogged down. But when we face it and we confront it with resilience, collaboration, and grace, we become the pearls, the shining pearls. And sisterhood, oh, that's the thread which binds us, all of us, together. Now, let me connect the dots back to the story that I had told you about a thread and a knot. Of course, life is going to get knotted. There are going to be obstacles, there are going to be difficulties, there are going to be challenges, but we need to turn them into opportunities and make something beautiful out of it. Now, let me bring this metaphor to a real life experience. I want to share one more story which really happened at Sancheti Hospital. COVID 19, we all went through it. I think the biggest pandemic we had ever seen in our lives. The whole, there was atmosphere of panic. We didn't know what was going to happen next. Our hospital, like the others, had turned into COVID hospital. And then there was a shortage of oxygen all over the city, and our hospital was no exception. But we had this old vendor who used to come regularly, no matter how much the shortage was, he actually always came and delivered the oxygen. That night also, he was going to deliver oxygen at 11:30. Middle of the night, I got a call from the ICU saying, ma'am, the oxygen supply is going to last only for 3 hours. And we had 5 patients in the ICU on oxygen. You can imagine the panic that I went through. But in seconds, I got hold of myself. There was no room for panic. Fear had to take the back seat. I just went and rushed to the hospital. Well, I had not called my leadership team, but they came to know, and all of them just reached the hospital in just few minutes. Everybody was there. We got frantically, we started making calls to all the possible vendors, kiske paas oxygen hai, anybody who can provide us. We started calling up hospitals, can you lend us till tomorrow morning? But nothing was working. We started praying very hard. Imagine what was I going through. I didn't have to show, but I was imagining what if we are not able to save lives of these 5 patients. I would have died, not of COVID, but of sheer guilt because of us, that we were going to lose these lives. In the middle of this whole crisis, one of the leaders says, you know what, I'm going to make a cup of tea after these crises are over. Well, this was not meant to be a joke. Obviously, we were not going to laugh at it. But it reminded us that we were together in these crises. We were not alone. We had each and every one. And the minute that you realize that you have someone with you, it is very comforting. The prayers were going on. We were trying our best. Well, just a few minutes before our supply got over, our prayers were answered. our efforts paid off and we did get oxygen and we were able to save everybody's life. Now, the point I'm trying to make is not about the ICU and the cylinders came and all that, but that was our sisterhood. That was the essence of our sisterhood. Something profound had happened, and that was a testament to our sisterhood, where nobody said, "This is my title, how can I do this, and why should I do this?" We were together, and for the first time in my life, that I was so proud of my sisterhood. We had built a very strong sisterhood. And at the same time, we had made an organization which was lean, efficient, and agile. Well, the professionally turned hospital had become and flourished. Now, I would like to say at this point, of course, the whole world is our oyster. And let's redefine leadership through sisterhood. Let's stand up for each other. Let's cheer each other. Let's inspire each other. Let's multiply our strengths. Let's share our victories. Let's celebrate our differences, because sisterhood undoubtedly is the way forward. At this point, I'm reminded of a beautiful quote by Ratan Tata. If you want to walk fast, walk alone. You want to walk far, walk together. And women and sisterhood and friends, we have to walk together. How far? As long as we can dream and more. Well, 2 years back, this beautiful neck piece of my pearls of my sisterhood, I handed it over to my brother, our chairman, Dr. Parag Sancheti. And I moved my focus to education at Sancheti Healthcare Academy to create more leaders and to inspire more leaders. Well, I'm aiming to make more pearls over there. And guess what? As the luck would have it, once again, I have 80% women right out there, and I'm looking forward to making these pearls. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Kudos to sisterhood. And thank you once again, OB School. Thank you so much.